Okay, thanks very much for your start. So thank you very much for attending this extra CNE board meeting. We are having meetings more frequently, we have them every other week at the moment, because of the timescale that we've got for the leisure project. So thank you for making the time to attend. So thank you. So sorry, just go on to the evacuation procedure. I'm not going to read it out. We've got no members of the public here, but please remember to gather in the appropriate place and don't move until Cass ticked you off her list. Thank you. Apologies for absence. We've got Councillor Singh, substituted by Councillor Simpson. Thank you, Mark. Welcome. Councillor Wattles by Councillor Barnett. Again, welcome. And Councillor Hobley by Councillor Chapman. Welcome to CNE board. Thank you. Any disposable pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest from anywhere? Okay, thank you. We've got no public participation. And just moving on to the minutes of the last meeting, if you'd like to come forward with any comments as we go through page 1, 2, or 3. Are we all happy to take those as an accurate record? Can I see those in favour, please? Okay, thank you. I'll sign those at the end of the meeting. Thank you. So we move on then to item number 6, which is the flight tipping update. We did have this on the last agenda item, but we didn't have Andy Sims with us, which we've now got with us today. So that's a bonus. So there were a few questions that people wanted to ask. So here's the opportunity. Andy, do you want to make any comments at the beginning, or are you happy to just answer questions?
I'll see how the questions go. We'll go from there.
Okay.
And it'll be easier.
Thank you.
Cheers, Chair.
Councillor Andy.
Andy, could you just tell me what role the two drones play?
So it's one drone. We ended up purchasing one drone in the end. So I brought it with me. This is one I made earlier. So I'm going to hold it up because people are probably thinking, what's that? So that's the drone that was purchased. It's a DJI Mavic Pro 4. It's an excellent piece of kit. So the technology in that little drone, in terms of images that it can secure and video, is excellent by anybody's standards. I'm not a techie whiz or anything like that, but the drones that I've used in the past, surpasses the drones I've previously used. So in terms of what would I use that for, what would we use that for? Primarily, we'd use it for evidence gathering. So if I go to a fly tip that's quite significant in size, you know, if I take you back now, I know the Litchfield one is an exception, and the EA ultimately would investigate something that big. But if I'm stood next to a fly tip taking images at ground level, you will only get to see a certain amount of waste, and so will the court. But if you're looking to gain impact, especially in court proceedings, if you're looking to provide to the magistrate or to the jury, should we say, a drone could give you a bird's eye view of such a fly tip, and the impact would be a lot greater, especially when we're able to show the court the conservation impact. So you can imagine from a bird's eye view looking down at a significant fly tip, it would give everybody an impression of exactly the impact that would have on the countryside. So evidence gathering in the first instance would be the main thing. There's a lot of opportunity as well for looking at locations that might not be available to somebody stood on the highway, for example. So say we're aware of dumping of waste or fly tips on private property that may be out of reach from the road, then again, bird's eye view, we can gain evidence that way. And it's got a number of different asset abilities from that position, from that platform, if you like. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Councillor Fowler.
Thank you. With luck, I'll say hello to Andy. We've spoken, Madam Chairman, on the phone a couple of times because Andy was already aware of it, but I identified a particular piece of land in Coldshill. I don't know if people saw, I think it was last week, the week before, a place in Lichfield where you saw mounting high of litter all the way along one lane, but this is actually in a piece of land which isn't as high, but it's quite as long. And so Andy knew about it, has known about it for a while. And I'm just wondering, Andy, about test cases, whether that actually could be used as a potential test case. Because at the moment, I know Andy's tried and I've been trying to try and find out the registered owner of the land. And I am contacting or have made contact with Fisher German to see if they know, but they haven't come back to me as yet. But it's helpful to know if that could be used as a test case. Just wondering, Andy, have we had the opportunity to look in that all that fly tipping to see again, like the test case in here, of any documents or letters? And the other question I'd like to ask is helping residents with ID to prove they are a legitimate waste removal company and not just a fly tipper.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, thank you, Span. So in terms of this drone as it stands there now, that we've only just received this, so this I haven't actually flown this as yet. But you're absolutely right. That field in question has got significant fly tipping in, hasn't it? It's historic. There hasn't been any more added to that. So in terms of evidence, there was only that historic evidence I think we discussed, which was years old, and the business has long since closed. But in what you're saying there, it's absolutely right. It's a field which is by the HS2 works. It's on just outside Coleshill by Solihull, on the border of Solihull, pretty much, isn't it?
It's in Coleshill. Those who know that area, it's just across the road, not too far from Woodland Cemetery.
That's right.
It's on the other side of the field, and there is another piece of land where they do various charities and boots, car boot sales, etc. But it's the land after that.
So I think, can I just say, for people who don't know, this is actually private land, it isn't our land. It's quite an interesting case study. It is a real eyesore, it isn't our land. So it's quite interesting how this is going to be dealt with. So Andy, any ideas you've got now, or come back to us and tell us how to be dealt with in the future, would be helpful.
Yes, thank you. I actually did ask the police if they could take some images for me, and obviously they're very busy and they haven't got back to me. And this is another excellent example of why having one of these ourselves, and I'm not having to ask other agencies to do that kind of work for me, that's a great advantage. So as soon as this is up and ready, we've got policies in place and the relevant insurances and paperwork, that would be the first place I'd go for that exact reason. So as you say, for a case study, I'm sure at some point we're going to identify who owns that field. You know, that will come to us. I'm waiting for the local police to get back to me on it as well. I'm hoping a bit of local knowledge will avail itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks very much for that. So it'd be an interesting case study. And just talking about case studies, I know you want to come in, Andy Jones, but just going to just say, last time we were saying about having case studies up on the website. But there need to be case studies that have resulted in something like a prosecution, for example, to show that sometimes it works. The case study, the incident that's given in the paper here is very interesting. It illustrates quite clearly how difficult it is, but it hasn't resulted in a closure, really, on this case. So where we have managed to successfully prosecute, we really need to advertise that.
So that case study, Chair, that's in here. So I have advanced that since that was in here. That is relatively typical of the majority of the cases I have. There is an unfortunate lack of witnesses to these kind of crimes, where you have to work backwards from the offence, if you like. There's very few opportunities of a witness saying, yes, I saw at this time, on this date, this vehicle, this registration. You don't that waste, you don't get that. It's very rare that you get that scenario, so you have to work backwards from it. So in terms of that case study there, I think it was up until the point that I was chasing him for an interview. He's no stranger to police, the chap in question, but I managed to get him in. And as I say, he's no stranger to being interviewed either, and it comes across denied all knowledge. So from that point, I've gone to the Environment Agency. Yeah, he's actually got a waste carrier licence, which, you know, there you go. And the EA will have recorded against that licence a lot of other facts that, you know, I've asked for. So again, it's, you know, it could be another 14 days.
Right.
For that to come back. And I've also contacted, with regards to him, the Force Control Room at West Midlands Police, for example. You know, in terms of a case study, it's just giving you an idea moving forward from that interview. So I'm back to the police with a DP request, and I'm also waiting on the EA. So it's quite easy to say after the interview, okay, no further evidence, no further action. But we don't want that. So it's obviously
It might well be worth putting on the website. Well done.
yeah.
Thank you. Okay, please. I've got Councillor Jones, and I'll come to you, Councillor Smith.
Thanks, Chair. Andy, you mentioned the EA a couple of times. I'm just wondering at what point they take on the case rather than the council, and do they have the powers to investigate and we do? Or,
So it's predominantly over 20 tonnes of waste. 20 tonnes. So the much larger tips that we don't get many of, you know, that they would get involved in that. The kind of tips that we see, you know, about what we would deal with on a daily basis. In terms of how they can help, they have information. If I'm looking to make inquiries into the waste carrier licence, for example, they'd assist in that term. But otherwise, no, it's mainly the evidence gathering and investigations that we conduct.
thank you.
Thank you. Mark, Councillor Simpson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Forgive me, I don't attend this board very often. I'm sure the normal members are quite grateful for that. Just a couple of questions, really. I remember that some time ago, we introduced this new regulation where notices could be issued, and I was assured that we'd be dishing them out like confetti. So how many have we issued, and what is the current rate of prosecutions? And secondly, I think when you were talking about the drone, you were saying, I think, forgive me if I got it wrong, that we'd need to arrange insurance and policies and all sorts of stuff before it could start being used. So when will it be being used? How long is the time frame for that?
Can I answer, Chair? Can I answer the last question first? So already the majority of the risk assessments and policy documents has already been created. So we're probably 75% where we need to be in terms of a local authority using a drone. One of the things that we still need to do is look at our website, North Wales Borough Council website, because we will need to obviously advertise the fact that we now operate a drone. Obviously, it's going to be transparent, so where we're going to be operating will be on that website. So there's a transparency there. You know, if we're looking at a particular area that on a given time, that will be on our website, for example. So we're not far off operational in terms of that. We've got another technical officer who's going through training at the moment, so there won't just be me, who's a trained operator, but so there'll be two of us. So obviously add that extra advantage to the team.
So, Joe, I'm missing the time frame. How long?
How long till that's
Working.
I couldn't give you an exact time frame. I couldn't say.
Go on, chance your arm.
Sure, we'll throw some in. Gav's training is in May. Okay, so he's actually getting his training, but I'm obviously qualified now. I would say we've still got another 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. Okay, we're ready to go.
Oh, Chairman, I really would encourage you and our officers to keep them 6 weeks if we can. I think that's,
Yeah.
I think majority of people outside this room would really like us to be doing this tomorrow. So, but I accept you can't do it overnight, but the sooner the better, I think. And the answer to my first question on how many notices and enforcements have we undertaken?
Councillor St Chair, if I may come in on that one. We've had 50 cases of fly tipping with potential evidence. And of those 50, 11 will be resulting in fixed penalty notice, prosecution. We've done issued three community protection warnings, and we're also issuing a simple caution next week. There's one fixed penalty for duty of care being issued tomorrow. There's one fixed penalty that's been paid. The others are with our legal team, so we just need final sign off from them. But we've got 2 prosecutions and 4 fixed penalties, but the files are with our legal team at the moment. So that's imminent for issue.
And Chairman, I'm delighted to hear all that, but with our legal team always rings alarm bells that we can add another year onto it. So can we have time frame on that, please?
Chair, well, I've just got to chase head of legal.
Then perhaps, Chairman, if the officer could circulate all members with the time frame.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Thanks, Sharon. If you could let us know
Of course.
when that's there, and obviously needless to say, we want it as quickly as possible. Thank you. Councillor Fowler.
Just very quickly, Madam Chair, just to congratulate Streetscape on the amount of fly tipping that they've cleared. Some 189 fly tipping, so I'd say well done. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Right. Is there a comms plan for when we have a number of prosecutions and fixed notices to obviously tell the members of the public about it? Because I think they'll feel a little bit more reassured that you are stepping up activity around fly tipping. So I just wondered if you already have, a comms plan in place for that.
Chair, if I may, yes, we will. As soon as we issue any fixed penalty or anything, any formal action, then we liaise with corporate comms and they will put it out on social media and the website. We put quite a bit out over the Christmas period because January historically is a busy time of year for fly tippers doing out for Christmas, etc. So we did have a bit of a purge on comms. And I appreciate they're a bit understaffed at the moment, but no, we always liaise with comms for sort of good news stories. Obviously, it's a good deterrent.
Can I just come here? I mean, obviously those of us on Facebook, etc., do try and share, but perhaps if you could send it round to the members, and then we can make sure that we're sharing those on our social media as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, good point.
Andy, paragraph 3.3, it's got from the 14th of October 2024 to the 19th of December 24. Streetscape have cleared 189 fly tips. Is this an increase or a decrease in last year? I.e., this is obviously post the Christmas clear, pre the Christmas clear out. Is post Christmas has been any increase at all, or?
I have got some. Sorry, Chair.
Yes, if you're the best to answer, Sharon, carry on.
We've been working with the data analyst with the transformation team. And the data analyst has produced some figures for us. I have printed a few off, so I can hand those round. And it's got the comparison between 23-24 to 24-25, and it breaks it down into quarters. But obviously that's Streetscape's remit, not ours, is the number of fly tips.
Okay,
We've got the
so,
numbers, we've got evidence for, but the
but
numbers.
if we've got the numbers, that would be helpful. So when you quote the numbers, it's really helpful if we can see what the trend is that up, down, or the same? So, yeah.
Yeah, Chair, I think now we've got these reports, the data analyst has come up with these, we can circulate these monthly.
Brilliant. Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, so we just asked to note that report. We don't need to vote or anything, so if anything's happy with that, we'll move on. Thank you. So the next agenda item is the commercial food waste collection, something that we're being required to do, but not for all commercial premises. So have you got anything you want to say, Kath, at the beginning?
Nothing other than this is part of the new legislation that's come out of simpler recycling. We have to legally now either deal with commercial food waste or signpost the company onto who approaches us onto somebody else who does it. Rob is on screen if you have any detailed questions, and Jamie is here, but the report is as it stands. We would propose that until we start doing domestic food waste collections, that this is our interim solution. And the truth is, we don't really know how many people out there will take us up. So we may have to come back and tweak it as we go, but we think this is a good starting point.
Okay. Any questions or comments on that? Councillor Jarvis.
I have to move the recommendation, Chair.
Thank you. Got a second? Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, it wasn't. Oh, that's it. Sorry. Carry on.
Although it kind of relates into item 12, which is in P&C, so I don't want to allude to it too much, but I do have concern about how the two kind of relate. And are we confident that we're not going to need any additional manpower for this?
Right. Who's
At the
going to?
moment, no, we should be okay because we can collect it with our garden waste rounds. At the minute, we work with a plan which allows us to take food and garden waste together. However, come 2026, when changes take place in county, change the contractor, we will need more vehicles and obviously separate crews to take it to completely separate at that point. So
Maybe I'll drill into it a bit more when we get to P&C.
Okay. Right. Thanks. Yeah. This is just an interim solution, if you like, and because it's not all commercial premises, it's those with more than 10 employees, then as Kath says, we're not quite sure just how many are going to come forward, because they have to come to us and say they want it. So it's a good question. We'll do it later. Okay. I've got a seconder for the recommendations. Councillor Jens, thank you. So the recommendations, as you see, to note the legal requirements, approve the use of existing garden waste service, and approve the new recommended charges, which are at the end of the report. Those in favour, please. Against? Any abstentions? Okay, so move on. Thank you. That's carried. Let's get to. So the next report is on street cleansing, and thanks very much, you two.
Thank you.
You'll remember at our last meeting, we asked for the 125,000, which has been put in to continue forward, and this is a paper on that. So, Kath, is it you or someone?
I just in terms of the report, this sets out the detail in terms of what we would look to, what sort of activity we would look to fund next year, as well as what we've done this year. But Robert online, it is his report, so I'm sure he'd be happy to add any comments to that or answer any questions.
You got any comments, Rob?
Or come off me.
Yeah, come off mute if you can. Thank you.
The only thing I was going to say is obviously we purchased the deep cleaning equipment in this year's fund, from this year's funding. Moving forward, we've been struggling with weeds, so if we get the funding, what we want to do this year is buy a quad bike so we can actually target the weeds more. So that will help us stay on top of in the areas where there's high footfall areas. So all your town centres, etc. You want to try and target the weeds so we can get on top of those, because again, a lot of the complaints that we have received and requests have been with regards to weeds in the summertime.
Thank you. Comments and questions, members? Yes, carry on.
Thank you. Good evening, Rob. I just wondered, number one, if we could have a schedule of when these cleanings will take place for all members? Excuse me, I'm out of breath. I'm just getting something for Sharon. The other question was, I saw litter bins in certain areas, one in Coleshill. Rob, is it you that I come back to? Because there was one location which I thought, that bin's fine. I checked it again today, and that's off Lichfield Road in Coleshill. The bin, as far as I can see, as metal is concerned, it's absolutely fine. It's just in the wrong location. It's too far up Rose Road, and not in front of the shop where it's much needed, where you've got a traffic flow. So is it you that I can come back to update you on others I find? Lastly, I have requested some more bins in Coleshill, but I was told that, informed rather, that there is no money. So when would I be able to apply for some extra bins? Thank you. Thank you, Madam.
So with regards to bins, yes, if you can give us any bins where you think they're in the wrong location, either email both myself and Mark, and we can look to get those moved for you. That's not a problem. The problem that we've got with additional bins is obviously we've got quite a lot of bins throughout the borough, which we are looking to now get some additional funding, as you've identified, to start replacing, because there's a lot of bins out in the borough which are rusted, worn out, need to be replaced. So we start that this year, and we're hoping next year to continue with that. But for additional bins, the more bins you put in, it means more work for the teams. They've got to empty all of those bins. It's additional resources. Realistically, and as far as I'm aware, it's a case of we want to make use of the bins that we've got. So yeah, if you've got bins in the wrong locations, let's move them. But putting additional bins in, really won't be doing that. We should be looking to replace the bins that we've got at the moment, the ones that are absolutely worn out.
I think once the replacement bin programme is completed, I think we may need to revisit this idea of needing more bins. We are putting more resource into this service, so we might be able to cost how many bins we could have, including the collection of them for people that need them. So we need to return to that at some point, if that's all right. Thank you. Just before Michaela in, the first question was on the scheduling.
Yes.
So there's two types of, if you like, street cleaning. One is that you do regularly, and the other is where we contact you and say, this is real mess, can you come and sort it out, on a one-off basis. So I know that you can't always keep to the schedule, but it would be really helpful to have at least a framework of when you go to each area. Is that possible to share?
Yeah, I can get Mark to put something together.
That would be really helpful. Thank you. Okay.
Chair. I was just reading through your aims and objectives, and it says that your plan is to clean of the road signs and street furniture and planters. And then further down it says that you've achieved you've been able to achieve on all of the aims. Is it in particular areas? Because I know my area particularly, all the road signs are filthy. I'm just wondering if it is actually all areas or just specific areas that
just being specific, and anything that's been reported to us. So if you've got areas where, and I urge young members, if you've got areas where you need something doing, please just drop us an email or contact us, and we can deal with that. But yes, areas where we've been notified, we've actually dealt with them as best we can.
Oh, right, okay. So you need to know which area.
Just
really.
Yes.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Councillor Turner.
I have an area of around a Stewart's Court in New Arley. All the footways are green moss covered. It's lethal at this moment in time. It seems that it's a residential area for sheltered people, or elderly, and I myself have decided to take a gliding lesson there in the last few days. It's horrendous. It's not just patchy, it's like a field. Around Stewart's Court in New Arley.
Stewart's Court, New Arley, yes?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll speak to Mike and I'll get the team on that for you, no problems.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, as I say, you know, if there's an area like that, then we need to report it so that they can get in there. So thanks. Councillor Fowler.
Thank you. Sorry to come back, Madam Chair, and I'm sure that I'm going to sound again like a broken record, and if I am, I really don't mind, because this has been going on for some 15 years, and Rob will know, or probably know, I'm going to refer yet again to the road called the A446, which is a joint situation between the Borough Council and the Warwickshire County Council, because it is a dual carriageway. We have areas in the north, Gorty Lane, where Rob did help to do some work there, but there are a number of areas where I've got blocked drains, detritus all over the place, stones of mud all over the pavements, where we've got walkers, elderly people walking their dogs, joggers, runners, we've got litter all over the place, and I just need some cooperation between this authority and the county council. I send emails, but that's about as far as it goes. So if I could ask Madam Mayor, through Rob, if he could liaise with members of the county council or officers, and to see if we can get a plan of action to clean up a road that hasn't been touched for some 15 years. Thank you.
If I could just say, yes, we have been working on the A446 with the county. We did that, I think in December we did some work. So it's as and when the county notifies, we actually do work with them. But it is sporadic and it's not the whole of the A446. But as and when they tell us, we will go in and work with them to work on it. But as you quickly point out, it has to be done under full lane closure, which is the county's responsibility, not ours.
Coming back, it does, and it's quite right, Rob is quite right about lane closures, and that's exactly what I pointed out to the county council. And yes, they do every October, it's what they call cluster work, but it isn't removing half the stuff, such as cones, sandbags, A-frames, signs, you name it, and the litter from the junction 9 of the M42 right the way down to the Stonebridge Island of the A452, I think it is. It's just amazing, and we've got so many visitors coming through our area, and especially to the NEC. I'm embarrassed, I have to say.
Okay, so can we suggest then that you put some pressure on the county council to again come up with a schedule of when they're going to close whatever they need to close in order to address these issues? And that would be really helpful, and then come back to us with the response you get, please.
Yeah, I can contact the county council and ask them to notify us. The problem that we also have with them is that they sometimes do a sporadic, they'll just drop onto the road without even telling us, so we don't even know they're there until they've done it. If it's a case of an emergency situation where they've gone out to it. So by the time we've actually realised that they're actually on the section of road, by the time we've responded, they've moved on and it's gone. So, but yeah, we can go back to them, but we do work closely with them anyway. So, but I could ask them for a programme of works.
Yeah, absolutely, and we just need to point out to them that the you know, cooperation needs two partners, and we need to work together on this. So if you could be firm on it, that would be really helpful. Councillor Jones.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to congratulate the team really on some of the work they do with these deep cleans. Really, really fantastic work. I think it's really money being well spent that you put into the budget there. Looking at the picture of the one of Romanage Avenue to Ralph Crescent, the footpath in Kingsbury, I'm really pleased that that's been done, because I get loads of complaints about that footpath. It does get really messy, and you can see from the photograph that a really good job has been done. Look, the photograph is looking towards Romanage Avenue, and really good job's being done there. A lot of complaints more to Ralph Crescent end, and then more to do with overgrown vegetation. I'm just wondering, do you cut back the vegetation as well as cleaning the weeds and the paths?
Yes, we do. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, thank you. So again, any vegetation needs clearing.
Yeah, please just send the email address is there. Just contact us or send me an email and we'll action it. No problems at all. But helpful if you could use the actual Deep Clean website email address, would be great.
Okay. Councillor.
Hi. Yeah, it's quite impressive the amount of work you've done, particularly with graffiti removal and stuff. I just wondered, now we've got this kit, whether obviously we are focusing on areas that are our responsibility, whether we've explored offering it as a chargeable service to parish councils and the like who may have other similar issues.
Yeah, that isn't something that I've considered such, no. But yeah, it's a facility we could offer, definitely.
Good idea, thanks. Okay, any more comments, questions? So someone willing to propose the recommendations? Thank you, Councillor Cameron, second by Councillor Amelia. So going on page 12 and that we note the enhanced street cleaning work undertaken and agree the additional service goes to 25-26. Those in favour? Any votes? Abstentions? Thank you. That's carried. So if we move on then to item 9, this is the replacement vehicle capital programme 24-25. Yeah, is that you?
I'll start it again. Thank you, Chair. So looks at the updated capital programme that's required for the fleet requirements within the borough. The last time this was updated was a little while ago, and I think it's fair to say that since COVID, the cost of purchasing new vehicles has risen quite substantially, 30% plus. So what you're now seeing is the readjusted programme. Some of them already have gone through various boards like resources, some of the housing work has gone through as part of that HRA account. What the figures that you see in the report today is the balance that's required. So this will be the last board to propose on to the capital programme report for executive board. So that this is the missing piece in the jigsaw. One of the things that we have taken a look at is, given the large increase in the cost of vehicles, are we absolutely optimising them? And that's a piece of work that Rob and his team have been doing. You know, do we change them at 5 years? Can we take them to 6 years? Do we change them at 6 years? Can we take them to 7 years? So what we try to do in the programme is to be as realistic as we can in terms of when they're going to need replacement, but to be quite hard in terms of what we're looking at, because you know, it is quite a difference from the original programme that has been in the capital budget. What we've also looked at as part of this programme is potentially whether we can electrify the later fleet. So that's vehicles, 3.5 ton tipper trucks, large vans, etc., under 7.5 tons. And the technology in the lighter vehicle space has been around for quite some time now. It's quite tried, it's got tested. A number of those vehicles come with a £5,000 government grant that we're allowed to apply for, which also to minimise the difference in cost between buying a combustion engine, and indeed a diesel and petrol equivalent now costs considerably more than it did a year ago. So that gap has been narrowing all the time. And what we try to do is to do the business case that says, actually, over the life of vehicles, it is actually better for the organisation, both in sustainability terms and in financial terms, to move those purchases in the future for lighter fleet, probably over the next 3 years when a lot of those purchases will take place, to electric vehicles. And then the last section of the report also talks about the risk management implications and also about the fleet management system. Again, that we had an audit on the fleet, and one of the recommendations in that was about assisting our compliance and our requirements by getting a new system to do that. Now, that doesn't mean to say we don't do that work now. We do it. But it's done in a very manual format, which is fine. That doesn't mean that we don't do what we should do. But I think it's fair to say that a system will save us considerable time and help us with regard to ensuring that all of our records are kept electronically now, not just on paper-based versions. That's the essence of the report, Chair, but obviously myself or Rob or Jamie would be more than happy to take questions if members have any.
Councillor Simpson.
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to understand a little bit more about the utility of installing EV charging points at the council house. It's 26 and a bit to £28,000. I absolutely get the value of putting it as a depot. Given that we're looking at a 3.5 ton tipper, a large van and small van, is it really necessary to install an EV charging point here?
Can I add to your question, Councillor Simpson? Because I looked at this and thought, presumably we're not going to charge ourselves for using the charging points that we're putting in for our vans. So if we've got charging points in the car park that are free, how are we going to manage that with the general public?
Rob, do you want to pick up the question about why we're situating some in the?
Yeah, no problems at all. So, because Sheepy Road Depot itself is probably not the largest depot we've got. First to install the points. By the time we get to the year 2 and 3, when we've got more electric vehicles, we're going to need the electric points at the council house to charge our vehicles as well. So there'll be 2 locations for charging our vehicles. That's the reason for it. These charging points will be solely for our own council vehicles. They will not be for the general public. Yes.
Well, 2 things spring to mind. One is we're already short of parking spaces. So if we're going to bring our vans in to be charged, that's going to be interesting. And secondly, how are we going to stop the public from using our charging points?
So first one is this is overnight charging. It's not during the day, because obviously they'll be out working. So it'll only be in the evenings we'll need them to actually charge up. So hopefully we won't need those parking spaces. I understand that, but that's yeah. With regards to the public, the charging points themselves, they will be pretty much like a fuel card key. So if your vehicle haven't got a fuel key, then you can't actually access it. Same principle applies with electric. So it'll be specific to the vehicle itself.
Okay, thanks. Any more comments?
So I actually get at the depot. I am still bemused at the. I mean, look, it's going to take 2 or 3 years before we expand the fleet. Then I'd like to think that we're replacing this. And the idea of spending 28,000 quid to put something in the car park here that we're not going to use for 2 to 3 years does sound strange. But what I'd like to understand is what is the need? Because, I mean, I have they are good, I support. I'm trying to be certain that we're going to get value for this £28,000. I'm not seeing it.
Yeah.
And they're fair questions, Chair. So the phasing, we're not going to put. I mean, what we're saying is, look, it's going to take us 3 years to get to that. If we've got enough capacity in Sheepy Road Depot to just do Sheepy Road Depot to start with, that's what we'll do. But if by the time we get to year 3, we then need to expand our charging points here, then that's what we'll do too. So this doesn't go into that granularity of detail, but more than happy to take that offline and provide that granularity of detail. So we're not going to put in capacity that we don't need. And we made the point. I mean, there are vehicles, there are council vans and vehicles who park in this car park now in the day because they're not out all the time. The majority of the ones that we would be looking to use in this report would be overnight. But we wouldn't be talking about taking up 10 parking spaces or anything like that. You're probably looking at 2 bays. So, we can have a look at it and we can have a look at the detail of that. But the capacity will need to flow from the purchase of these vehicles. But Sheepy Road is constrained for us. I mean, we could look at it and say, well, we could put them in Lower Farm, for example. But the trouble is, you then have to go back to Atherstone, where they tend to be centred from every time that we do that. But we won't. But we can have another look at that and we'll come back to Himmingers and give you the assurance we're not going to just go and spend on a load of infrastructure. The only other caveat to that would be, if we're going to pay somebody to come in and put that infrastructure in place, does it cost the council more to do it in 2 hits, or do we get a better deal if we have all the works done at the same time? But I'm not saying it should be the answer to what the point that Councillor Simpson is making. I think we need to go away and have a look at that detail and assure ourselves that we are addressing the points that you've raised.
And generally, I'm more than happy to be convinced. I'm just not. So I sort of say, look, I'm happy to leave this to a decision to the officers in consultation with yourself and the shadow chairman. To be absolutely convinced me here, I get the point of granularity. Recommendation D seems pretty ungranular to me. It's £57,000 now, thank you very much. So a bit more granularity on where we're spending the money would be helpful.
Yeah. Okay, so we will agree the phasing of this between on myself. Okay, Councillor Turner.
I've got just some little simple questions. How many miles on an average do the vehicles we've got now do? And the electric vehicles that are about at the moment, be they commercial or private, they're very limited on the mileage. They say, oh, to do 600 miles from here to there. But as soon as you put the windscreen wipers on, the headlights on, and the heated interior, like we all like to have, the mileage goes straight through the floor. Are we going to have flipping electric vehicles have regular stop-off points at every kind of 2 or 3 hours?
Okay, have we got the range right? It's the question.
So the vehicles themselves, on average, one of our street cleansing vehicles travel approximately 40 miles per day, because obviously it's within the borough. They're stopping off doing their work, etc. So we're not talking of a massive amount of mileage per day for the vehicles. The range, based on the current battery size that they've got, we anticipate that it'll be 1 charge per week per vehicle. If it goes to 2, then that'll be a maximum of 2. It will not be more than 2 charges per week.
That does surprise me. 40 miles a day.
Yeah.
That's a little bit low, to be honest. From here to where I live, it's 15 miles each way. That's 30 before we even go any further. Just bodging around the town, I can understand that. But for me to come here, it's 15 miles each way. So 40 miles seems a little bit low, in my opinion.
Okay. That's the mileage I was given, average miles I've been given by my team. So
I'm calling you a liar, not at all.
I can look into that, but yeah.
Okay. Councillor Simpson.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. I'm not being overly negative about this. I mean, you have to be a bit of a nut to look £61,000 worth of savings. Since I clearly would like the £61,000 worth of savings, I might be convinced that spending £57,000 of that £60,000 is probably. And I get the point. I think, it's a fair question. I mean, from everything I understand, electric's got a relatively short shelf life. Be on hydrogen before you know it. But £61,000 of savings, if this only lasts for 3 years, we're still quid in, so it's still worth doing.
Yeah.
But maybe 2 parts.
Yes. Yeah. So we've agreed that
You come back on that.
Thank you. Councillor Fowler.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. We welcome this document as well as from the Climate Change Board, and looking at our plan and net zero target. I certainly welcome what Councillor Turner said about mileage. That will be interesting. I think we've raised this before in the board as well. So I welcome that. And certainly, I think Councillor Simpson did raise a very good point as well when you talked about Sheepy Road and also the Council House car park. It'd be interesting to see the comeback on that as a report. But on the side of that, I almost welcome as well, as we need to switch our vehicles to electric. They're very much welcome, and I wholeheartedly support that as our climate change agenda. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I support it as well. I think it makes sense both from an environmental and a financial point of view. Just a couple of questions. In terms of the charging infrastructure, I assume we're going to need some new grid connections for that. Are we, or is the existing infrastructure up to it?
We've already had surveys carried out, and our current grid is okay, so we don't need to have any upgrades. All we will have to do is have ducting put in and the points installed. So there's going to have to be some groundworks done first before the points can be installed. But the supply to the Sheepy Road is fine.
The other question I had related to there's a comment about keeping 10 diesel vans because the housing staff take them home at the moment.
Yeah.
But mine as an interim, obviously, long term we need some solution to that. And I just wanted to highlight that. going forward, we need to work around that in some way, whether it's providing funding for them to charge at their home address or something else. But obviously, it's not something new, but something we need to address in future.
Yes, something that needs to be worked with housing on, and I'm aware of that, yes.
Yes, thank you.
Right, okay, we've got, oh, sorry.
I just have a wider point. So Councillor Fowler mentioned the climate change board. Is that due to meet this year? Because I don't think it's met for a long time.
Through you, Madam Chairman, yes, I actually did speak to Rob Snape a month or two ago. I believe he's been away during January and he's back. And I did say, as soon as you're back, can you please email me? So he hasn't yet, so I'm assuming he's not back yet. I asked him to email me so we could have a chat and we could sort out the dates for this year, for exactly what you said. We haven't met for an awful long time, and also to go through the plan that Rob and I discussed last year that's now on the website, because there are still a few areas that we need to clear up. So I will get to, as soon as we discuss that, I'll get Rob to send out those dates to the climate board members and others as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have we got that right?
He's returned this week.
Okay.
I'm due to catch up with him first thing in the morning, so I'll ask him to give you a call.
Yeah, I
Councillor
thought it
Fowler.
was this week it was coming back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so can we look at the recommendations then? Is someone willing to propose? That's Councillor Fowler, seconded by Councillor Barnett. Thank you. And so there they are. Support the revised vehicle replacement capital programme. Recommend to the executive board capital funding as it's stated there. Approve the recommended switch to electric vehicles for those under 7.5 tonnes. Approve the one-off cabinet growth bid to 57,000, albeit phased. And approve the one-off capital bid for the purchase of the new fleet transport system. All those in favour? Any against? Thank you. No abstentions. Thank you very much. So we're now going to move into B&C. We recommend that we do. I have to read this out, sorry, for to consider in accordance with section 100A4 of the Local Government Act 2022, whether it's in the public interest that the public and press be excluded from the meeting, the following items of business on the grounds that they involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined by Schedule 12A to the Act. All those in favour? Thank you. Turn off the recording, please. Thank you.